if you're struggling to lose fat, you're probably not eating enough food. And I know it might sound counterproductive, but hear me out just a second. What is the one thing that everyone does when they try to lose weight? They start eating less. They take away a large majority of the food that they're eating. They take away carbs, they take away fast food, they take away sugars, they take away things that they love, and they try to hustle their way through this dieting phase, right? They try to be like, listen, I'm just gonna restrict myself. I know I'm gonna be hungry, but it's gonna be for a greater good, and I'm just gonna push through it. But the problem is that it's hardly anyone can get through that for the rest of their lives. And at the end of the day, chances are there's gonna come to a point where you're gonna be like, I cannot do this anymore. And then you're gonna start binge eating, and then you're gonna get into a rebound that's gonna get you in a even worse position than you were when you first started this diet. And that happens over and over and over again. And the main problem is that people are just not eating enough food, okay? So if you're not gonna be able to maintain this for the rest of your life, it doesn't really make sense for you to do it for like a day or like a week or even a month. Because all the progress that you get, it's gonna be lost in the water once you get back to your old ways. So in this episode, what I wanna show you is how you can utilize food to lose fat while still having a life that you can actually enjoy, and most importantly, to maintain the results over time, because otherwise it's just for nothing. So the most important thing to understand here is that you should not be hungry. Like when you're doing a diet, when you're trying to lose fat, the majority of people should not be hungry at all. And obviously, if you're trying to get to single-digit body fat percentages, if you're trying to compete, that's a whole different ballgame. Obviously, to those extremes, you're gonna have to go a little bit more drastic. But if you're someone who's 20, 30, 40 pounds overweight, and you just want to get in shape, you want to get a flat stomach, you want to get a six-pack, you want to get toned, you don't need to be hungry. In fact, I believe being hungry is super counterproductive because it will push you to binge it down the road. So how can you lose fat while eating more food? Well, we need to make this difference between food and calories, right? There's not a single food, there's not a single food group, there's not a single chain of restaurants that will make you gain or lose fat. And I always put the same example. You can gain a lot of fat by eating just lettuce. Like if you ate 6 pounds of lettuce every day, depending on how big you are, you're gonna be gaining a lot of fat. But just eating lettuce. And we can all agree that lettuce is a pretty good thing for you, right? You can change this for apples, you can change this for tomatoes, for whatever you want. And on the other hand, you can lose fat by only eating Oreos and McDonald's. Like if you only eat 3 Oreos and you eat a $1 burger from McDonald's every single day, you are going to lose a lot of fat, depending on how big you are, of course. And I think we can all agree that Oreos and McDonald's are probably not the best foods in the world, right? So if that's real, if that's the situation, it has nothing to do, losing weight has absolutely nothing to do with the foods that you're eating. So it gives us the ability to play with them, to be flexible, and to craft a strategy that's gonna allow us to get the results that we want without sacrificing our lifestyle, right? Without being hungry and moody all the time, and most importantly, while being able to maintain that strategy over time. So basically, once you interiorize this, right, that there's no food that's gonna make me gain fat or lose fat. And again, please don't take this as McDonald's is good and lettuce is bad. Obviously, it's not what I'm saying, right? But when it comes to losing fat, it's all about calories in, calories out, right? So we need to take a look at the calories in each food. Now, with that being said, if I told you you're gonna be eating 3 pounds of food every single day, do you think you're gonna be fuller than if you eat 5 pounds of food? Or do you think that you're gonna be fuller if you eat 1 pound of food? Because you can achieve the same calories with 1 pound, with 3 pounds, or with 5 pounds of food, depending on the type of food that you're eating. So for example, I'm gonna give you a quick example. You can eat a piece of chocolate that is 90 calories. And that piece of chocolate is not gonna make you full at all. Like it's gonna solve your sweet tooth if you have one or whatever, but it's not gonna make you full. Now, you can eat 90 calories worth of spinach which is probably gonna be a whole bowl, and you can be really full with that, but you ate the same amount of calories. So what this is telling us is that you can always reach your calorie requirements and your calorie targets, as far as, again, you're not trying to get to single body fat percentages, but if you're having a normal and a decent and a reasonable calorie deficit, you can reach that calorie deficit with a lot of volume. It just comes down to learning which foods are lower in calories, so you can stack up the volume of your meals and making sure that you still get your protein in, but at the same time you're eating enough food so you're never hungry. So for example, there are simple switches that you can make that will make your entire journey a lot more pleasurable, because you're not going to be hungry. If you're talking about eating chicken pasta, for example, right? Chicken pasta is basically a carb and protein dish, and it can have a good amount of calories, if depending on the pasta, depending on the sauces, whatever. You can basically have the same, quote unquote, the same meal, the same protein, the same carbohydrates, with a different carbohydrate source that's gonna keep you fuller longer with less amount of calories. So for example, if you switch the pasta for rice, then you are already decreasing the calories. If you switch the rice for potatoes, now all of a sudden you're not only decreasing the calories, but you're also increasing the volume. Okay, you're gonna be able to eat more food for less calories, so you're gonna be fuller without going over your calories. So when it comes to those little switches, you need to figure out what are the low calorie options that I love, that I can use over and over and over again. Because if you find that one thing that you love that is low in calories, so for example, for me that's going to be spinach, that you can use in the majority of your dishes, then you're gonna be able to stack up any dish, as high or as low calories as it is, and give yourself a lot more volume, so you're always full. So for example, let's say you're having chicken, or you're having fish, or you're having shrimp, or you're having any other type of protein with some type of carb, you can add in that food that you love that is also low in calories, and it's gonna stack up the volume. So things that are really, really good for this are vegetables. Obviously, majority of the vegetables are fairly low in calories. Anything that's super waterish. So for example, if you go into the fruit side of things like melon and watermelon and stuff like that are really, really low in calories for the volume that they're giving you. And one thing that is probably like super underrated that you might love is pickles. Like pickles, for me, it's probably the best snack ever, because I think it's like 17 calories for 100 grams, and with the vinegar and all that, it gets you really full. So the goal of a cutting phase or a dieting phase or a phase where you're trying to lose the fat is not a competition to see who can starve the most, because that might as well be a competition to be who's the dumber of the group, right? Because at the end of the day, the one who's starving the most is the one who has the higher chances of rebounding after achieving their goals. The dieting phase is supposed to help you lose the fat while setting up systems that will allow you to maintain those results over time. So things like stacking up the volume of your meals, things like drinking more water, that's also, it gets overlooked, right? It gets overlooked, but if you are hungry, just try to drink first. Sometimes it's just a way for your body to tell you that you are dehydrated. That happens a lot. And let me tell you, if you drink a gallon of water per day, your hunger is gonna plummet, because you're filling your stomach, because your body thinks that you're getting the energy from a different source, and it's another really good way to feel full during the day. A lot of the times, people who go into these crazy diets, they restrict themselves so much, they forget about drinking water, and then on top of not having enough volume of food, they don't have enough water, and then their body's just screaming at them, and just give me energy because I need it, right? So my main takeaway from this is, if you are hungry all the time, chances are what you're doing will not be sustainable. What you're doing will not be sustainable. You just won't. Because the moment you achieve your goal, you're gonna feel like a sprinter who's going full speed for like 10 or 9 seconds. Like, that's probably like world class, but You get what I'm saying? And then they're done. They cannot do anything else. And that's it. That's the full effort. I did it, got the result, got the medal, that's fine. Now I'm gonna get back to walking. Now I'm gonna get back to normal speed. Versus someone who's gonna continue to run through the marathon, someone who's gonna continue to run through a race. If you are only pushing, if you are only handling what you're doing to your body because you have an end in mind, unless again you're trying to compete, you're gonna get to that point, you're gonna enjoy it for a couple of weeks, and then you're gonna lose all the results, and all that effort, all that sacrifice, all that restriction will be lost. So I encourage you in this to be smarter about your transformation, to eat more, to make sure that you are following a strategy that you can actually maintain for the rest of your life, even if you don't need to, because you're gonna get through different seasons, and sometimes it's gonna be cutting, sometimes it's gonna be bulking. But either way, you need to make sure that in case you wanted to maintain, to continue to do that, you would be able to do it. So if you're not eating enough, start putting more volume into your meals, start eating more, start feeling fuller, because that's gonna make your cutting season a lot easier. You're gonna get a lot better results, and most importantly, you're gonna be able to maintain it for longer.